Put your war boots on.
Well, I'd like to hear his take on time because every time I ask somebody that, it doesn't go good.
To me, time is just a cycle. SE, that's all it is. Things just move in cycles. Everything has a cycle.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
Like, but time itself, what we call time, seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, this sort of thing. That's just a man-made construct. Period. No more, no less. That's all it is.
It's a concept. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Better now?
a little bit.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I think time is just sort of change. Or, yeah, change.
Yeah, definitely. I'll agree with that. But it's not change is not time, right? Change is change. That's why we call it change.
Yeah, yeah. It is a bit defined.
Mm. And you definitely can't manipulate it, can you, my man?
Depends what you mean with manipulate, but I think
Oh,
sort
in
of,
any
yeah.
way, in any way, shape, or form, you can't manipulate time.
Using your hands. That's what the etymology of the word manipulate means, right?
Okay, then you can't manipulate it with your hands, your feet, your tongue, your nose, a stick, a ball,
So
like
I kind of
anything.
agree. Yeah.
Yes. So there is no way at all to be able to manipulate time.
I think so. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Okay, then we're getting somewhere. I think we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, you know what the next question is, right?
Yeah, I do, SC. Go ahead.
I
Go
I do
ahead.
know what the next question is.
Go ahead, tell me, mailman.
Hmm?
Does it have to do with a certain fabric?
I didn't. I thought I didn't know it was the fabric thing. I thought it was the independent variable thing.
You see, this thing that you agreed is really a concept. Well, one fuzzy-haired nut job took it and combined it with space, the stuff that's between me and you, and made a fabric out of it.
Sure.
Nonsense, right?
Well, I mean, it's of my pay grade, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, it can be nonsense or true. I'm not sure. I'm not a scientist, but
On
Well,
an
we are making
intuitive level.
progress. You are thinking about it, so that's good.
Yeah. Have you hit your head today, mailman? Like, what's going on, man?
no.
No. No.
I think the ball whisperer, the
Oh,
RC,
that's right.
I mean,
bandsaw.
I have to say that yeah, space time can be wrong because I mean, sort of not everything, but most of things can be wrong. So I can't say that it definitely exists or exists as a concrete thing.
Look, it's the idea of a man who was brought up, to be a genius, which really that is a sign of sheer stupidity, if you ask me. Like taking a concept of time and space and combining them, and like this is an outdated 100-year-old theory that people refuse to let go for some reason.
I don't know how it's outdated. I mean, I don't know what it's outdated with.
Dark matter kills it.
I mean,
Dark matter kills
how?
what?
It doesn't kill
Kills
it.
the Einsteinian and Newtonian view of cosmology.
How does it kill it?
It doesn't.
Oh yeah, kills it dead in the water. Yeah.
How?
How? If there is dark matter, then everything works. So how? I mean,
How
I
does
Well,
it
you
don't
just
see
kill
said
how.
it yourself. You just said it yourself. If there is dark matter,
Yeah.
then everything works.
Yeah. So now we just have to figure out if there is dark matter to know if
No,
the idea is correct or not.
no, you don't get it, do you? They
Yeah,
invented dark matter for the theory to work.
yeah,
The
the
theory
dark
was
Okay.
matter.
proven wrong.
Just
right?
incorporate it into relativity, and it works that way. Dark matter is the question.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, Left Lane, because I know you looked into it. You said it yesterday. Now, had we not had this concept of the gravity, right, that we think of, Newtonian and Einsteinian, had we not had that concept, would we need to invent dark matter?
Oh, we'd be set back 100 years in technology, and there are many things that we use today that incorporates these principles. I
Dark
mean, so
matter.
I don't
Name
know.
me one. Name me one thing.
Not dark matter. I'm talking about, Einstein and Newton.
Like
You
what?
know,
What do we
I would just
incorporate?
say that I would just say that just because there is movement in galaxies that we don't understand, um, really doesn't necessarily negate the Einstein's field equation.
Well, the movement in galaxies that we don't understand, they've always been moving that way. Would you agree?
Sure.
So, in other words, what we thought we saw before, we made calculations for, we got that wrong. You have to admit that.
No,
You
we
won't
got
admit.
what wrong? I mean, we use it. I mean, here on Earth, of course, we don't even have to get into Einsteinian gravity to calculate trajectories, ballistics, orbits, and things like that. We just use Newtonian physics, and it works.
So
Yeah,
you
but
mean to tell me that when we throw something up in the air and we watch it fall and we calculate that takes some sort of genius to figure that out? It took
Well,
Newton to. We
we
don't
can
see it
calculate.
ourselves. We pick something up, we drop it, it falls. We need Newton for that.
Yeah, sure we do.
Well, he
Yeah.
was wrong because he said that matter attracts matter, and there's no instance whatsoever where we see that. So that's wrong.
We're in direct conflict on that. So
Left Lane, I think you kind of let him off the hook though. SC still needs to tell us how dark matter proves Newton and Einstein wrong.
Very simple. Very simple. Try to like. I can't make it any more simpler. Right. The reason why you think dark matter is needed is because you had a concept of how gravity should work, Einsteinian that is, right? The calculations were made and they were observed to be incorrect. When they looked up in the sky, the model that Einstein came up with was 100% wrong. Not slightly, not by a little bit, 100% wrong. There's no way to dispute that, because if you're going to tell me that the galaxies were not spinning in the way you expected, right? That means your theory, your model expected them to be turning in a certain rate, which they were not. So that means your model was wrong.
Okay. I get where you're coming from. What most people would say is the model was incomplete. I don't know if they would say it was wrong.
But it was wrong. In order for your model to work, I don't understand why you don't see that. You had to come up with something. You had to put something where there's nothing. Do you not understand that? You had to put 95% of what is out there to be something where there is nothing for your calculations to work. That is preposterous that you don't see that.
Dude, I don't get how you don't see that it's older. It's just.
Go ahead. Sorry,
Tony,
go ahead.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, go ahead.
No, it's just a placeholder. I mean, you guys think that it's like a definite thing.
What's a placeholder? What does that mean?
Is it me?
They don't know exactly what it is yet. So until we find out what it is, it's called black matter or black whatever you want to call it. Jose, who gives a shit?
Yeah, but why do you think there has to be something there? Why?
Because there's nothing there.
Well, why do you need a
why? Why
placeholder?
must there be something where there's nothing? Why?
So that our equations match reality, because
Wait a
right
second,
now
I'm pulling up
don't.
propane.
So you
We
want?
see
So you
we
want to
see this
listen
thing.
to what you just said, bro? Listen
Uh-huh.
to what you just said. You
Yeah.
said you put something there so
Mhm.
the equations can match reality.
Yeah. So that our predictions match what we see in reality. So
So
so I would give it to you, Essie, that the Einstein lambda model has gone through a lot of revision. There was a point where the model was completely wrong, where Einstein thought we live in a static universe that wasn't even expanding. And then Edwin Hubble came about and saw that galaxies recede away from us. The further away they are from us, the faster they move away. So he put in this placeholder called the cosmological constant. And that
right, and
placeholder
saying Einstein was wrong, right?
has
Let him
been
finish.
yeah,
Just
that placeholder, just let me finish, Essie. That placeholder has been revised and revised. And the reason we need to revise it is because we want our model and our predictions to match reality. So if there are things out there which we haven't taken into consideration, we need to take that into consideration. But until we have a better understanding of what dark matter really is, we're just going to have this placeholder for it.
it's nothing, bro. You don't get it. It's nothing. You invented it because you got your calculations wrong. Why can't you see that?
Half of what you're saying is right. Our calculations were wrong because we didn't factor this in because we didn't know about it. Now that we
No,
know about it, we're trying to factor it into our
no,
calculations
no,
to make them more
wrong,
accurate. But dark matter is out there. We just don't know what it is, Essie.
wrong. 100% wrong. You had a calculations of how the model worked. You look out into
Yeah,
space. The model is not working according to your calculations. Now, what
Yeah,
do you
so we
do?
so, so we
You
fix it.
put something there to make it
Yeah.
work. It
Don't
doesn't
you
work
do
that
that,
way,
Essie?
bro.
If your car is driving and you get a flat tire, you fix it, right? You don't just leave it broken.
That is not an analogy.
It is the perfect
No, it's
analogy.
not.
Our model was wrong. There were things it couldn't predict, so we are trying to fix it.
No, you invented 95% of what we don't see. Don't you understand that, man?
95%. But
95% of
yeah,
everything was invented to 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 coincide with the calculation that was fucking wrong. Don't you
yeah.
see that?
no.
Then
I
there's
see it.
nothing
The
more
way
I
you're
can
trying
tell
to
you,
phrase
bro.
it
You are
is
Isn't it?
completely lost. Completely.
it-
cool, but the way you're
Isn't it?
phrasing it isn't. Sorry, Ben. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, you got no idea what it is, right?
Yeah.
But you have, but you know, the powers to be think that they have to put a placeholder in there, right,
Yes.
to fill the gaps. Okay, then, but what, like, isn't it? Why not you? Why not just make the calculations and say, you know what? It's not dark matter. It's not nothing. It's actually nothing at all. But we can make our calculations fit nothing because our
No.
calculations fit nothing. Well, your calculations kind of are fitting nothing because the dark matter is nothing because you don't know what it is. You can't measure it. You can't test it. You can't examine it at
Uh-huh.
all. All you're putting to it is a calculation of what you see through a telescope. You have noticed when you look through a telescope, this one particular light move left or right in relation to how you thought that light should move under the Newtonian type of gravity. Okay, then. So now you've noticed that this light that you've never noticed before, but now you have noticed, it doesn't actually, the equation that we have for the rest of the lights doesn't fit. Okay, so we think something else has to be affecting it.
Yes.
So okay, so now we now make a new calculation that that in conjunction with the other calculations that we have for the rest of the lights that we've calculated, this one,
Mhm.
when we add this calculation in as well, makes everything kind of work, right?
Yes.
But it is
Exactly.
okay. So all the calculation is a prediction how
Yes.
things move. right? They're just
According to how we observe them moving.
right.
We're not
Yes,
deciding this is how stars move. This is how we observe them to move. But our
yeah, exactly right.
calculations, which we use to make the predictions, don't match up the movement. So, like you said,
Exactly.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
you were hitting the nail on the head, Pencil.
exactly. But you still, just because you have a calculation now that can predict the movement of these stars or lights or whatever you want to call them, just because you have a calculation that can now predict where they're going to be at any one particular time, right? You are no closer to knowing why they are moving in that particular way. You're no closer because all you're doing is just following these calculations, all right?
What do you mean by
Because
why, though? By why do you mean what the cause is or what the effect is that we see?
well, you see an effect, right?
Yeah.
And that effect is that light spinning anti-clockwise instead of clockwise. Okay, so this is the effect that you are seeing. So now you have a calculation, right? That that now can be used to predict this
The effect.
anti-clockwise movement. All
Yeah.
right,
So we have a
but
calculation
but
to predict the effect we should see. Yeah.
but and that's all you have. You are
Yes.
no closer, right? You
To
are
the
no
cause,
closer to the cause whatsoever.
which is fine,
No,
and we admit
no
that every day
closer.
of the week. Yeah, we
Okay.
we we
So
we admit that. Yeah.
yeah. So all these calculations are calculations of movements of
Hmm.
of of,
Of
of
tra-
things.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah, of things that you once didn't see, and now you have more and more powerful telescopes that 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 can see fainter and fainter objects, right, through the different filters and stuff that they put on them. So you're noticing these things, or they're being concentrated on a particular part of the sky for a longer period of time. So you are observing these new lights and their movements, but yeah, just putting calculations to them. Um, the theory that uh, really, in all seriousness, Nate, the theory of unicorn farts actually moving them is just as valid. It's just as valid as anything else because I have a calculation,
Uh
right,
huh.
that can predict that when unicorns fart, the light will move anti-clockwise, and my calculation now
You can
matches
say
up
that.
with it.
You can
Yeah.
definitely say that. But then I would take you a
Yes.
step further and ask you for those calculations, which you don't have. But I understand you just using this as an example, which is fine, but that's only an
Yes.
example. In the real world, we don't have calculations for unicorn thoughts. We don't have
Uh,
that,
well,
All
you
we have
do.
is this. Do
You
we?
I
do.
have one. I have one.
So
Yeah.
our dark
You,
matter is the unicorn thoughts. That's what you mean.
exactly. Exactly. So I
Aha.
have I have the equation for it because you don't know the cause, on which you've admitted yourself. You
Okay.
don't actually know the cause.
I'll
So
I'll give you that then. So
yeah, cool.
yeah, I'll give it
Happy
to you. Dark
days.
matter might as well be unicorn thoughts because we don't really know what it is. We just know
Hmm.
how it affects other
Yeah,
things around it.
yeah, yeah.
I'll give it to
And
you.
all
Dark matter
yeah,
could be unicorn thoughts.
yeah.
Okay.
And all these calculations do is predict and calculate the movement of a light that we see. That's all they do.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. That's
Yes.
that's that's
Happy
mechanics, right?
days.
You want to
Beautiful.
predict the trajectory of an object through time and space, which is fine. That's what we
Well,
try to do. Now, as you said, our predictions weren't working out because there was something else that's affecting our predictions that we haven't taken into consideration.
hmm
We're trying our best to take it into consideration, but at the moment we still don't know what it is. It could be unicorn thoughts. All we know is how it affects the things around it. And that's
yeah.
fine. We admit that, don't we? I mean, do we say anything more than that?
Well, you do,
I
right?
do.
But
Oh.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, you do. A lot of people don't because a lot of people are all over the bending and warping of the fabric of space time. They actually think it's a real thing, other than just a calculation of what we see moving.
Yeah.
And don't forget, it doesn't predict. Your model did not predict. Absolutely got everything wrong, and you had to invent
beginning, yes.
95. Let me finish, please. Don't cut me off.
I'm so
They had to invent 95% of the known galaxy. Now listen to my words. They had to invent 95% of the galaxy to make this model work. If you don't see that, bro, there's no hope for you.
Oh, 95% of the matter in our galaxy you're saying is dark matter.
Well, no, it's something like 38% dark matter, and then they came up with another bull crap called
Are you
dark
talking about our galaxy
energy.
or the entire universe? The entire
The
universe, it's
entire
about
universe. The
okay. Then
entire
it's between
universe.
25 to 30%. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Of something that you don't know, you can't touch, smell, measure, but you know it's there, right?
Yeah, because we see how it affects other things around it.
My God, man. My God, man. It's such. I don't know.
Just quickly, Globus, you did summon someone to the chat. Do you want to?
That's right,
Do you
I
want to
did.
follow? Do you want to follow this up? I know where you're going. Do you want to follow it up?
Yeah, only if you guys are done with the conversation at hand.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
You done SE? You done SE?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, brother.